Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we are currently in, in the Unlost World, in the Living Memory, and, well, even after shutting down the machines, some spirits still haunt the area. So, let's give them a final rest. And this archivist wants to get some books back, apparently? Unreturned books are a nightmare for a landing library. Welcome to the Daguerreo Medical Collection. Forgive me for being so forthright, but I don't suppose I could ask you a small favor? The facility's medical history texts were formerly available on loan, but several borrowers have disappeared and are no longer able to return their books. I was hoping you'd be able to help collect the outstanding monographs. Eventually, I too will be erased and can't imagine the collection will receive any more visitors. Nevertheless, a vast wealth of knowledge is contained within these walls, and I have every faith that it will prove useful to someone someday, hence my determination to ensure that no document is left behind. I will search on the northern side of town. I'd ask you to check the southern terrace. If you find any book that relate to medical history, I'd be grateful if you could bring them back to me. Alright. It's one of these classical quests, collecting books. Faded folio. The technique of stimulating the body with electrical energy to alleviate pain and other conditions has recently garnered a great deal of attention in medical circles. In the more practical terms, the abundance of electrical energy means the technique is also attractive from an economic standpoint. Our concerns about the dangers of corporeal etheric imbalance remain, not least among etheriological researchers, many of whom disapprove of the technique. A thorough study into the potential side effects of electrical treatment is clearly warranted. A history of Alexandrian medicine. The appearance of Electrope has triggered a profound transformation in Alexandrian medicine. Indeed, it would be no exaggeration to suggest that we are on the cusp of a new epoch. Though it would be premature to dismiss the continued importance of time-honored arts such as the herbology and healing magics, we must be aware that any advances made via the application of Electrope are bound to foster new techniques. Mint condition monograph. Ethereal imbalance and its symptoms. When etheric imbalance occurs within the body, a number of issues present themselves. An overabundance of lightning energy can adversely affect sight and other senses, eventually leading to paralysis. Due to the environmental changes that occurred 400 years ago, Queen Queen herself reportedly suffered from an imbalance toward lightning energy, immediately succumbing to her affliction. Perhaps because of this, efforts to establish a viable treatment have historically been approached with a degree of haste. Yeah, Sween showed us a boy who had this problem, right? Ah, excellent time. I just returned from my search. Were you able to recover any documents? Medical application of electricity, Alexandrian medicine, and ethereal imbalance and its symptoms. Wonderful. These were the last outstanding monographs. I can't begin to thank you enough. The Daguerreo Medical Collection has been dedicated to archiving and exhibiting the medical history of the entire continent, as well as tomes and treatises. The facility is home to a whole host of artifacts, including old curios and medical automata. Alas, I am now the only remaining archivist, and the doors of the collection have been closed to prevent the ingress of fiends. You strike me as a more recent arrival. I would love to hear what you know of modern medical techniques. Certain conditions remain incurable. I see. Perhaps you speak of the ill effects of the etheric imbalance? Saddens me to hear that no major breakthrough has been made by your time. The history of medicine is never-ending. An ailment is discovered, a treatment is devised, new techniques lead to new diagnoses, and new diagnoses require new treatments. Much like the cycle of rain to river, the sea to cloud. Technological progress flows ever onward. As techniques advance, so too does medicine, and the incurable afflictions of the present are consigned to the past. My duty is to catalogue these trials and tribulations, that the knowledge may spur the next breakthrough. Nothing could fill me with more pride. Which is why I plan to maintain the collection until the very moment I disappear. Please accept my heartfelt thanks for everything you've done for the Daguerre Medical Collection. Okay. I'm the tenacious tour guide. Well wishing at the wishing well. You'll never guess what just happened. There I was, right in the middle of one of my tours. My customer just up and vanished. There's nothing worse than not being able to see something through to the end. And you do something with all this pent-up pep. I don't think I've ever given you the tour. So how about it? I promise I won't take up too much of your time. Sure. Show me around. Now, Canneltown wouldn't be Canneltown without its water. We're better to dip your toes into the local history than in two of our storied fountains. Come, I'll be waiting for you by the font of devotion. And this is the mission he stayed behind for, even as everyone disappeared, yeah? There you are. For such an obliging participant, I have to pull out all the stops. According to the legends, there are two water sources imbued with mystical properties in Canneltown. The first being this fountain right here. They say that a mere mouthful is enough to fill you with vim and vigor. Given that the town prides itself as a resort of revitalization, there could hardly be a more fitting fountain. Whether you believe the old tales about its healing waters is another matter. Myths are myths, after all. I hope you aren't too disappointed. Nevertheless, though its waters may be decidedly mundane, the font still lives up to its name. Over the years, crowds have flocked to the fountain, invariably leaving soothed and refreshed. For those who display such devotion, perhaps there is something to be gained from a gulp or two. I hope that whets your appetite, because another fountain awaits. Come, and find me at the eastern side of town. Excellent. Allow me to continue. You stand before another storied fountain. These waters are said to bring happiness to whoever tosses in a coin. And if you're already blessed with happiness, I'm sure a different wish wouldn't go unanswered. Plenty of folk used to do just that in days gone by. Are the legends to be believed? Well, only one way to find out. Here, take this coin and make a wish. I know I ought not to ask, but what did you wish for? For this journey to never cease. Ah, traveler. I know I've given the tour countless times, but not once have I made a wish myself. Not because I pour scorn on the legends or anything like that. I just never got around to it, but thanks to you I got to finish my tour. To mark the occasion, I think I might just toss a coin in. Now, as for my wish... If I had another chance at life, I want to connect with as many people as I could through my job. I worked here as a tour guide in my former life too, before it became a home for the endless. Living Memory was open to the living, breathing folk seeking relaxation and revelry. Boy, did I guide a lot of people back then. I never tired of sharing my knowledge and hearing visitors' wonderful stories. I suppose that's why I took up the same job as an endless, and I'm proud of that. Proud of staying true to myself. But you didn't come here to hear me harp on about my life. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. Here's hoping our wishes come true. Farewell, my final customer. And even the coins disperse. Now, the Daguerre quests really seemed like it might continue, but this one definitely ended. Good, and let's continue then in Yesterland. Clever youngling, what's up? Brotherly bonds know no barrier. Ah, I recognize you from a founding celebration. Huh, if I'm not the only one who got left behind, then maybe, just maybe, still... I'm looking for my brother, you see? The two of us were hardly ever apart, which is why I'm starting to think I'll be stuck here until we're reunited. But with Yesterland like this, I'm worried about overlooking something. Would you mind coming with me? If you're able to help, just say the word. The word? You'll help me look for him? Yay, thank you! I've already checked near the aircap station, so let's head to the Bagmare Ring. The clever youngling is now accompanying you. The Bagmare Ring was great. It was so fun to ride and beautiful too, especially when it was all lit up. Seeing it always used to make me happy. Some of the naughty kids used to have competitions to see how far they could launch their shoes while they were riding it. Once someone accidentally sent their shoe flying right into Otis while he was on patrol. You should have seen the look on my face. It's strange seeing this place so empty now. No sign of my brother either. We should take a look near the Esperance wheel next. I remember a game some of us used to play here. Two people would split up and ride on opposing wheels. Then when the cabins got close enough, we'd reach out and try to link hands. It was quite a stretch and you had to do all that if the cabins were moving. It's a miracle none of us got hurt. Apparently any pair that pulled it off would share an unbreakable bond. I was always a bit skeptical though. Still, part of me wishes I'd given it a try with my brother. Speaking of, there's no sign of him here either. I mean, there's no sign of anyone. I thought he might have wandered this way to get a glimpse of the wheels up close, but I should have known better. No doubt he'd rather be tinkering with a cerulean engine than taking in the sights. You're from Tulliola? What? Don't tell me you're from Tulliola too. Could have sworn I saw someone just like you when I was getting on the train that day. Does that mean people found a way to getting through the barrier after I died? Come to think of it, there was another familiar face during performance at the castle. That was Vau Wuklamat with you, wasn't it? I wonder why I didn't realize it at the time. Sorry, this is a lot to take in. If you have any news of the outside world, pray, tell me all you know. Let's see. Ever since we were children, my brother and I have always been inseparable. When Dawn Servant Kona first brought ceruleum to Turel, we both marveled at its potential, together helped develop the dirigible technology that our society came to rely on. So too were we charmed by the railroads of Shaluani, but on that fateful day we parted ways. Since then I've only known the confines of a dome. When Vau Wuklamak took the stage with you, she appeared much as she did the day of the Ascension ceremony, and as a living person no less. Might I ask how Tulliola fares? Hardly any time has passed beyond the barrier. The day I boarded the train, my brother decided to stay behind in Shaluani to inspect the facilities nearby. The world outside the dome is much the same as it was then. I can only assume he's alive and well. If that's the case, I suppose this search of mine was rather futile. But if he's out there, living his life to the fullest, nothing in the world could bring me more joy. The years we spent together were some of the happiest of my life. Not a moment went by that I didn't wish to return to those halcyon days. But isn't to say the life I've built here hasn't been worthwhile. I drew strength from those who met the same fate in Yassolani that day, and learned much and more from the engineers I became acquainted with. It took time, but I finally see that this period of my life was just as joyful, just as fulfilling. Were it not for the news you shared, I may never have come to this realization. Thank you. In the end, perhaps all I needed was an assurance that my dear brother is alive and well. And that's why he was a child, because for him that was the happiest time he had with his brother. And people appear like in the moment where they're happiest. Lively lasts. Perplexing puzzles, endless fun. Hey miss, can you believe it? I just finished setting up a brand new game for my friends and they've only gone and disappeared. Unbelievable. It took me ages to think of all the clues and hide them around town. Guess it was all for nothing. Hold on, I got an idea. Why don't you give it a go? Trust me. You'll have a great time. Okay? Okay, here's the first riddle. By yesterday's gate stands a tiny mountain piled high. See if you can figure out where I've hidden the next clue. At least they give us a signal here. Because for a moment I was worried this might be one of those you don't get hints quests. They seem to have at least one of those in every expansion. They tend to be difficult. stack of crates. You find a hidden scrap of parchment inscribed with the next clue. Congratulations on solving the first riddle. Here's the next clue. 4 lamps loom over streets of glass, but only one true light shines on Her Majesty. Okay. You find a hidden scrap of parchment. Great job solving the 7th riddle. Here's the next clue. Over the river, in sight of a spiral, behind the pointy head, hide your shrubs you seek. Pointy head? So this hut. Yeah. Hidden bed of shrub. You find a hidden scrap of parchment and scrap with the next clue. You are dab-handed at this. Just one final clue to go. The princess awaits your return. P.S. You also need your passport. I want to be your canary. Oh, you found me. I'm guessing you know the password too, right? I want to be your canary. Amazing. You passed with flying colors. Now that you finished, I thought I'd tell you how I came up with my clues. The first clue was, by yesterday's gate stands a tiny mountain piled high. Of course, I meant the entrance of Yesterland and the stacks of crates a few steps away. There's one kid who used to hang around by the gate to make sure any newcomers quickly got the lie of the land. Pretty nice of them, right? Alright, time for the next one. The 4 lamps looming over streets of glass. Well, there were streetlights in Starglass. The bit about one true light shining on Her Majesty is because we are supposed to look for the street lamp closest to the Meso Terminal. See, I thought line of sight or something like that. From there you can see Queen Swene's statue from in between the air cap rails. Quite the sight, huh? For the 3rd part of the puzzle, my clue was over a river inside of a spiral behind the pointy head, hide the shrubs you seek. The river I'm talking about is the old Electrope River, and the spiral is the air cap station's staircase. And the pointy head? Easy, that's a building with a funny shaped roof. Whenever we used to play hide and seek, it was always a popular spot. I figured it would be a great place to leave a clue. The last clue about the princess waiting for your return? Well, I thought it was because princesses live in castles, and that was where I was waiting. I bet you're dying to hear about the password too. I want to be a canary is the code we'd use when we needed to keep something secret. It's the title of an old play about a princess who falls in love with a commoner. That's the great thing about this game. It's not just about having fun, it's also a great introduction to Yesterland for anyone who just arrived. Everyone knows about the Big Mare Ring and the Esperance Wheel, don't they? I wanted to take folks off a beaten trail and make sure they learned our password. Although, I guess I won't need it anymore. Still, I'm glad you played my game, miss. I think I go for a last wander around the place. It's been fun, thank you. So, we have still 2 people who are around here in these areas. And we now go to the volcano area. I almost forgot the names. Asyl Volcano. Restless Milala. Yes, you, with a weapon. Pardon my candor, but you must accompany me to Matchlock Menagerie this instant. What? No, I'm not asking you on a leisurely outing. I'm asking you to save innocent lives. I spied a trio of volcanic scorpions stalking after some defenseless animals. Why to vanish and allow the scorpions to prey upon those creatures? I'd never forgive myself. We must make for a menagerie and defend them no matter the cost. Obviously, I can't chase off a nest of hungry pests alone. I require strength. Specifically, your strength. Step lively then. We have no time to lose. Right. It wasn't such a long way. I saw them. I saw the scorpions. They're closing in on 2 tiny critters as we speak. Those volcanic monstrosities terrify me. But what terrifies me more is knowing what they'll do to their quarry if we don't act swiftly. Worry not, little ones. I'm on my way. God, I thought this was the end of me. I took every drop of courage I could muster. Thankfully, the little ones managed to escape without a scratch. But to find them and lead them to the entrance before the other scorpions catch us in their sight. I'll meet you back there when all's well. Okay. You, my weapon-wielding friend, are a lifesaver. I realize this all escalated rather quickly, but you performed admirable under the pressure. You're welcome. To tell the truth, I have a bit of a history with these scorpions. In my previous life, I was tasked with introducing new and exciting creatures to Matchlock Menagerie, but our guests might know the wonders of Animal Kingdom. As one might expect, the prospect of scorpions posed a great risk. We often argued with upper management as to whether keeping them would be worth the cost. In the end, however, the menagerie's curator ordered us to take them in. Supposedly, scorpion-based vodka was a popular delicacy in Alexandria before the war. I sought to recreate those drinks and share them with the masses by way of a new exhibit. Time passed, and I finally returned as an Endless, only to discover the menagerie in shambles. Those thrice-stamped scorpions have the run of the place now. I should have argued against the curator's plan when I had the chance. I should never have agreed to that terrible exhibit. No matter how hard I tried to let things go, those pangs of regret never abated. So when I spotted those innocent creatures wandering into the menagerie, I felt obligated to return, to save what little I could. Thanks to you, my conscience is clear, and our fuzzy new friends are none the worse for wear. Did these 2 originally belong to the menagerie? They must have, but I don't recall bringing in such precious pups. Perhaps one of my associates introduced them after I left? Regardless, I can rest easy in the knowledge that these 2 will have each other, even when I'm long gone. I should be able to escort them to safety from here. You have my deepest gratitude, and presumably theirs as well. Exhausted engineer. Blueprint protocol. All I want was relaxing reprieve in Opal Springs. I never thought it would come to this. I misplaced something precious to me, you see? Instead of blueprints, I suspected I dropped them on my way to the springs, but the terminal suddenly shut down as I was retracing my steps. I was so absorbed in my search I couldn't even vanish with the others. Forgive my boldness, but you seem a generous sort, and I'm sorely in need of help. Find what I'm after and I'll make it worth your while. Before my soak, I paid a visit to the Arena of Valor, so I leave that area to you. For my part, I plan to scour the springs one more time. Stop bashing me. Advertisement. Fighting familiars. Wood versus solid gold. Will Milala tradition triumph, or will modernity make its mark in a monumental match? This appears to be a list of match from the Arena of Valor. While the illustration of clashing familiars catches your eye, it's a far cry from what you're after. You will not escape Lords of Vermilion. Need a frigid treat to beat the heat? Shock and awe your taste buds with volcanic lightning, a new flavor of frozen delight that got customers asking, how can something so hot be so cool? Though the ice cream sounds dangerously delightful, this advertisement makes no mention of anything remotely architectural. These are not the blueprints you seek. Yeah? Do it before the time runs out. Good, but yeah, that is on the ranks. Detailed documentation. A massive tower crowned with a statue of a golden woman is mapped out in painstaking detail. This appear to be blueprints to the Meso terminal. The blueprints likely belong to the exhausted engineer. It would be best to return to Opal Springs and deliver them to her. I searched every nook and cranny for those blueprints, but I found not a single scattered sheet. I don't know where else I could have ended up. Please tell me you managed to track them down. Oh, my blueprints. My dear sweet blueprints, how I've missed you. I just knew I dropped these on my straw. Thank you ever so much for retrieving them. When we first began development on the Meso terminal, I drafted these blueprints for its design. If you can believe it, the finished product is the work of yours truly. Well, to be fair, the concept wasn't entirely of my own making. I have Milala folklore to thank for its creation. According to said folklore, we Milala were refugees from another world. Our ancestors once lived in a sun-kissed paradise by the sea. But this, until those very seas began to freeze, and calamity engulfed everything in its path. Under the protection of a great speaker, my ancestors were guided to this world and left in their homeland a towering statue of their savior. The speaker was a compassionate and selfless soul, sacrificing all she had to save her people. Not unlike Queen Sween, no? With the legend of a speaker as my inspiration, I incorporated Her Majesty's beauteous visage into the top of a terminal, rather at the heart of our city. A flawless idea if I do so myself. I gave everything, my passion, my time, my love of country, to see these blueprints given shape. They aren't merely pieces of parchment, they're my life's work personified. Yet I nearly left them to rot in the arena of valor. Would be laughing this off if I weren't so furious with myself. But what's important is that you've brought them back, and I owe you a great debt. At this rate, I may never meet Her Majesty face to face. All I can do now, all I wish to do now, is gaze upon her glorious image before I fade away. You have my thanks, stranger. May fortune favor you always. Remembering that we cut down Sween in the end. And now we can fly here. Good, that leaves the Whitesbuff Gardens. Alright, old woman. What's up? Lindblum, we hardly knew you. And there I was beginning to think I was the only one left. Perhaps you'd like to join me for a moment or two? This place was once something of an unending dream. But by all appearance, the reverie is finally over, and, well, to put it simply, I've been desperate to talk with someone. If you feel like stretching your legs, why don't you come and find me by the bridge here in Bloom of Discovery? Glad you came. I'll get straight to it. How familiar are you with the nation of Lindblum? I know they were once at war with Alexandria. Precisely. Alexandria fought with its neighbor Lindblum during the Storm Surge, and was the latter who produced the dreadful weapon that wrought disaster. To focus on this period of conflict reveals a nation loathed by the people of Alexandria. Yet for much of a nation's shared history, Lindblum was simply a neighbor, everyone with rather different customs. All this talk has put me in the mood for another wander. Come and find me when you're ready to hear the rest of my ramblings. Let us continue. Now, in many ways, a nation can be viewed as a combination of technology and culture. I wonder where your interest lies. Hard to pick one over the other. That's often the case, is it not? I apologize for putting you on the spot. Lindblum was always revered for its technological prowess. After all, this was a nation that revolutionized travel with the invention of the air cab and the airship. Designs that combined magic and machine to remarkable effects. Despite such advancements, they held dear to time-honored traditions, among them the hunt. This festival of frenzied violence saw city streets awash with blood and fiends, intentionally released as sport for brave warriors seeking to prove their skills. A nation on the forefront of technological innovation, yet steeped in the wild vestiges of its past. An interesting duology, I'm sure you'll agree. Lest we get too comfortable standing here, I suggest we make for lay note arrow to finish up our discussion. This is of course heavily inspired from the Lindblum of Final Fantasy IX. I'm sure you have your reasons for being here, just as I have mine. Despite that, you chose to humor this old woman. For that you have my thanks. I've had a wonderful time talking with you. You might have gathered by now, but in my past life I taught history. time came to retire, I stayed true to my passion and began to study my family's past. As I traced my lineage back through the generations, I made quite a startling discovery. One of my ancestors was originally from Lindblom. She made her way to Alexandria around the time of a storm surge. The war broke out not long after she married. As far as I could glean from the records, instead of returning to her native land, she remained in Alexandria for the rest of her life. When I discovered my connection to Lindblom, I pledged to learn more of our long-time foe. Although records were scarce, I dedicated what time I had left to my research, determined that at the very least I would remember the nation's fate. If it's not too much to ask, I'd love to hear your thoughts about everything I told you. What I'd give to take part in one of those Lindblom hunts. Oh yes, I imagine a gallant adventurer like yourself would prove quite the worthy hunter. I must apologize. Knowing that this would be my last lecture, I got a little carried away. But I simply had to share this with someone. Little did I know that I'd be blessed with such an enthusiastic student. You're a kind soul indeed. May the time you have left here prove fruitful and fulfilling. Alright, budding botanist. Leaving this place for good. Hello? I don't think I've seen you before. I'm here to collect all sorts of leaves and flowers, just like my hero. I'm looking for plants to add to my collection when a fiend burst out of the bushes and chased me away. If only just caught my breath. I know it's a lot to add, but would you mind helping me out? I'm looking for Nepheletta fronds, Irenaris leaves, and some banana leaves. Should be able to find everything nearby. Irenaris shrub. Nepheletta tree. And banana tree. You're back. Did you find everything? Well, thank you so much. I'm annoyed I couldn't do it alone, but thanks to you, my living memory plant collection is complete. Have you heard of Nepheletta? People take the fronds and use them to brew a nice warming tea. One of my books says that travelers and merchants used to drink it all the time before the war. Apparently the second type of leaf I asked you to get Irenaris is really bitter. I heard they used it in a lot of old Alexandrian dishes. People must have different tastes back then. And then there's banana leaves. In Tural they use the leaves to rub different kinds of fillings before cooking them. I've never tried it personally, but it's what my hero told me. I suppose I should also tell you a little bit about her. She had the loveliest long ears and used to talk with me all the time in Heritage Font. I remember she once laughed at me for calling her Miss. She said she wasn't as young as I thought. She knew so much about plants and animals, and she'd tell me all kinds of amazing stories about her travels. But I still remember what she said to me. Discovering new species is my life's work. I heard that and decided I'd make it my life's work too. When I told her I wanted to go on an adventure, she said to wait until I was older and wiser and ready to stand on my own 2 feet. Well, after that I got sick, and in the end, I guess I wasn't being realistic. I was so obsessed with the idea of collecting new plants and finding all sorts of amazing trees that I forgot about my health. I've always been frail, you see. I wanted to visit Clara too. You know the place they named this museum after. I read that the town is built on top of a giant tree protected by swirling sandstorms. Apparently it's on the same continent as Alexandria. Speak of giant trees, have you ever seen any? The Raktika Greatwood was filled with the greatest trees you could imagine. Oh, I've never heard about that place. You must be a traveler. Just like my hero. I'd given up on my idea of going on a big adventure, but after hearing your stories, I can't bear the thought of not living out my dreams. Just you wait, one day I see the world and all it has to offer. After all, there's so much more out there than my books could ever tell me. This is all quests in the living memory, so I guess I end the episode here, and next time we play more Final Fantasy XIV. Until then, I'm Mace, and don't get lost.